getting overlaps of terminologies that are being used by different sources to describe similar things based on a slightly different ideology. That is the 70 language groups or the 12 tribes. So it's not clear always because there's overlap. For instance, Thomas is both a disciple and an apostle. Often in episodes, I've been doing it now very carefully, in John or other Gospels, he says, and his disciples came to him. And the disciples include Peter and a lot of other people. So there's a lot of different overlap. Thaddeus is both a disciple and an apostle. There are other ones too, yeah.
But couldn't they be both?
Well, I'm not saying they can't.
Because like if they're a disciple of Jesus, they could be an apostle of someone.
Yeah, I'm not saying that they can't be. I'm just saying there seem to be some confusions. That's all. Anything's possible. I'm saying there's some problems there. Not you want to solve it like that, that's fine. But there are some issues about, well, is he an apostle? Is he a disciple? I mean, what's the difference between the two? Why is a different language being used? So I'm just giving you some patterns. I'm not trying to defend or attack. I'm giving some patterns. Why these came. The 70 is the Jewish. I talked about this because of the Sanhedrin. The number of the Jewish ruling body of that time. Council of Elders. Sanhedrin. And that's based on the 72. Number 72 of the people that went up on, well, actually, it's originally based on the number of people that went down with Jacob to Egypt, considered to be 72. And that's the number of people that are on Mount Sinai. 72 becomes a focal number. And then the 70 language groups as well. All those converge on this idea of disciples in Christianity, and of course the 12 tribes and the 12 apostles. By the way, you don't have 12 tribes for a Gentile mission. I mean, you don't have 12 apostles for a Gentile mission. Because, 12 apostles means one to each tribe in theory. Though by this time there are no tribes as such, as I told you. I think there's only, if I didn't tell you, there's really only Judah left by this time. And Levites, the priest class. There are no others, even though claims are made about being Benjamin. There really are no Benjaminites as such left, though some people may have been making Benjaminite claims, and I'll explain that later on. But you don't hear someone making like Issacharite claims. You don't hear someone, that kind of tribe. You don't hear someone making Danite claims. You don't hear someone making God, I can't think of some of the other tribes, but some of the other Naphtaliite claims, Manassehite claims, Ephraimite claims. Benjamin is a particular thing. And I think that Paul's the only one we know making such a claim. I think it, in time, will have to do with this Herodian problem. The reason being that you'll see there's a similar genealogy in the Bible for Benjaminites and Edomites. They have the same genealogy in the Bible, so there's some overlap there. And I think that the Idumeans, which is what the Herodians were also considered to be, Idumeans or Edomites. Idumeans over here. Or what we would call Edomites, Greek Idumeans, were maybe making Benjaminite claims to legitimatize themselves when the Herodian family started coming in, but that's a very thing. But in any case, point is you're getting constant struggle here against the background of the Roman struggle, and against the Roman struggle of these people like Octavian and so on. Herod gets a Roman army, even though, and he had been governor. He was governor of Galilee. He was very unpopular. Sanhedrin actually had called him to account, wanting to execute him for having killed this so-called bandit chief. So the Sanhedrin didn't think it was a bandit chief. They thought he had overstepped his authority as governor. And what he did was he marched into the Sanhedrin with his soldiers and basically dismissed it. Something what Caesar or Mark Antony might have done in Rome. So by that time he was bullying people and using his Napoleon did the same thing for the, just saw a biography of Napoleon when the Chamber of Deputies opposed him. He marched in with his soldiers and, dismissed the whole Chamber of Deputies and became emperor. By that time, Herod was doing the same thing. So he was not popular, he was very unpopular. And ultimately, the Persians came in while the Romans were fighting each other. They were a power further east, and for a while, Persians reasserted control. It's all in Josephus in around the 40s. Therefore, Herod fled to Rome and got a Roman army with the sponsorship of Mark Antony, who had been his father's friend. He'd been his father's friend, and he got a Roman army, came back, stormed Jerusalem in 37 BC, and put himself in power with Roman soldiers. And the one party that Josephus makes it clear was not willing to resist were the Pharisees. They consistently are the peace party and recommended the people to open the gates to Herod. The people don't open the gates to Herod. So the claim that the Pharisees are the popular party is only a misnomer foisted by their later heirs. Who are the later heirs of the Pharisees? The rabbis. The rabbis of medieval and modern Judaism, Talmudic Judaism. The Talmud is really the teaching book descended from the Pharisees. So what we have today in Judaism is Pharisaic Judaism, and the New Testament in attacking that is attacking Judaism to some extent as it's known after the death of Jesus and in the 2nd century, perhaps 1st or 2nd century, knowing that that's what Judaism has become. There's more meaning to the Pharisees than that, as I'll tell you when we get through it. But the first indication we get of Pharisees is somewhere around the 1st century BC in these struggles. And the Pharisees consistently support foreign rule in Palestine. You said, how can that be? Why would a party? Because they're not the Revolutionary Party. They're not the extremist parties. They're not the Messianist parties. They're not the Zealot parties. There are many parties. For instance, you say that the Pharisees are condemned in the Gospels. Well, they're condemned in the Dead Sea Scrolls too. So these are extremist Jewish literature in the Dead Sea Scrolls that dislike or hate the Pharisees as much or more than the New Testament does. Yeah.
So the Pharisees are more of a political group?
Political religious. But, they're interested mostly in studying Torah. They don't want to get into politics, perhaps. Anyone will let them have their academies or their schools. Fine. Just like today, in Israel, there are groups in Israel that recognize King Hussein as the king or prefer